Hey everybody, it's Gypsy. This is my last day in the hotel, but I woke up to a little bit of snow. It looks so pretty. Well, I suppose if I was out in nature it would, but I'm in a parking lot actually. But yeah, we got some snow. Hey everybody, it's Gypsy. You saw our beautiful snow out there. It's going to be a high of 36 today, so I'm sure it's going to melt. Anyways, I realized with all my videos about my accident, they're kind of all over the board. So I thought I would just go through my story from the accident up until present time. The reason I feel the need to do this is because I'm documenting, the issues I'm having, the fight I am going through to finish my treatment. And the reason I do this is, well, to help others. Because when I go through something, I figure, one, other people have gone through it. And two, in the future, there will be people going through it. And I really feel our medical system, health insurance, big pharma, it is all so corrupt. We need to change it, okay? So this is going to happen to others in the future. So I figure if I document how I'm handling it and the results, it might help someone else in the future. I hope so. I'm not willing to back down. I did not get the treatment I was told I would get. My surgeon, after surgery, he told me what he expected to happen, and it didn't. Okay. So this is the reason I am doing this and documenting all this. It is so you understand the problems that I and others have had with this, and should you have it in the future, hopefully this will help. So anyways, what happened was my dog, I have a Great Pyrenees, he was alerting me to something outside. Now, we don't ever have traffic, especially people driving by who we don't know. So a stranger was kind of circling around our property. So he wanted to alert me to this, and he was giving off, he has different barks, so he gave off his alarm bark. And I went outside. I think he was now, I was in shock when it first happened, and I could not remember all the details. They're coming back to me now. And now I understand why my brain shut that off. He was like to the right of me, and the person driving around went around this way. So my dog wanted to show me that this car was over there. And I had just put him back on his tie out, and he ran in front of me to show me. And his tie out, my dog is huge, hit my legs and flipped me, and I landed on my left leg, on my left side. Now that it is later and my head's more clear, I remember hearing a crack. I right afterwards, I did not remember any of this. I was in shock. I remember I was on the ground. I could not get up, and I looked down, and my leg was bent. All right, this is the front of my leg. Yeah, my knee, at the knee, I was bent out to the side. And I remember I had to look away. It made me sick to my stomach, just the thought of it. And the car that was driving by, I knew I couldn't get up, and I started screaming for help. And the person didn't hear me and kept driving. There's no one else around. Even my closest neighbor couldn't hear me screaming. My phone was inside my trailer. And I knew the only way for me to get help was to somehow get from my yard to the trailer door and into the trailer. Oh, also, what I remember is my kneecap was on the side of my leg when my leg was bent like that. So, the only thing I could do was get myself onto my like stomach and like crawl on my arms, you know. And this took a very, very long time, and it was extremely painful. And I was crying, and there were times I had to let out a scream because of the pain. So I finally, I don't even know how long it took. It seemed to take forever. I finally got to my trailer steps. Thank God it's a small trailer. There's only one step up. And I had to then turn onto my back. Yeah, that was really painful. And use my elbows to climb up into the trailer, and then I had to go like backwards into my trailer and go, like crawl on my back to the table where my phone was, where I called for help. So that's how I got help. So I was thinking, hoping that it was just a dislocated kneecap. And once it was back in, I'd be fine. Because at that point, I had forgotten what my leg looked like at first. It was just, I think when you go into shock, your brain does some amazing things. So what I had just saw was out of my... I just realized that this part of the video doesn't make sense because I left something out. I meant to tell you, when I crawled on my stomach from outside into the trailer, it somehow straightened out my leg. I don't know how it happened, but my squirming on the ground it hurt like hell. But yeah, that's why I forgot about this, because by the time I got inside the trailer, not that my leg was straight, it still looked weird, but it was facing. It was more the right way. And anyways, I go to the emergency room thinking of this, and they were doing x-rays on my knee, and it was so painful. I felt sorry for those at the emergency room helping me, because I mean, every time they touched me, they had to like get the side of my knee, the back of it was excruciating. And I was, trying not to just even moan or anything, but I couldn't help that. And I was crying, kind of let out a couple, not like really loud, but loud enough screams. And they just kept apologizing. And I'm like, I said, don't worry about it. I said, I know you guys have to do this and it can't be helped. And this was like all through my hospital stay, people would, whenever they had to do something that was painful to me, they would apologize. And it was just like when you have a broken bone, especially like in your legs or your arms, this is what I was told by the EMT. The slightest little vibration or bump of a vehicle is just extremely painful. So the doctor, the ER doctor, and I was down in Sapporo, comes in and he tells me, well, you broke your tibia plateau. I'd never broken a bone in my life, so I didn't know what it felt like. And I thought, okay, well, a cast, and I go home. So what he told me was, he goes, I'm going to put, not a cast, I think what he meant was one of those things that blow up. I had one on my ankle once when I sprayed it. On my knee, give me crutches, and he was going to set me up with an orthopedic surgeon because he said I needed surgery. And I was like, surgery? I said, can't you just put a cast on it? And he goes, no, the way you broke it, you're going to need surgery. He said, so I'm going to send these x-rays up to the orthopedic surgeon to get you an appointment and get you started. So great. He comes back And he goes, well, the plans have changed. After sending up your x-rays, he says they want to do surgery and they want to do it now, this morning. He says, now we don't do major surgeries here at Socorro. This kind, we have to send you up to Rio Rancho. So it takes so long to get up to Rio Rancho that they wouldn't be able to get me up there in time. He says they were ready to take me now. And he said an ambulance would have taken 4 hours. Wow, that's a long time. So what they did was they flew me via helicopter from Socorro up to Rio Rancho. They put me in pre-op right away, got me ready for surgery. I remember I had time to call my son and let him know what was going on. You know, they drugged me up too, so thankfully. I don't recall the details at this point. Before they put me in the helicopter, they gave me fentanyl. And I was like, fentanyl? And she says, don't worry. She says, what you hear on the news about fentanyl, these are very, very, very large and dangerous doses of fentanyl. She goes, we're definitely not giving you that. She says, we have to give you something strong because the movement and vibration of the helicopter will hurt. And even with the fentanyl, it hurt. Thankfully, though, it kept making me doze in and out. So anyways, the surgeon comes to see me before surgery. And he tells me that he's going to have to put a metal plate in the side of my leg, which wraps around. It has like metal straps that come out from the plate and wrap around my bones in my leg. And what else did he say? He said I might have to use some bone glue, I think. And then afterwards you're going to be in a brace for 6 weeks. In a brace and 6 weeks non-weight bearing or something like that. So I go into surgery, and my anesthesiologist was great because every time they had to transfer me from like a gurney to a table or to a bed or whatever, I was screaming. I mean, it was horrible. So I remember she's wheeling me in to the operating room. She goes, well, we're at the operating room now. And I remember seeing the doors. And she says, I'm going to have to transfer you from this gurney onto the operating table. And I said, oh no, not another transition. I hurt so bad. She goes, okay, well then how about if I put you out now? Bang, I was gone. Next thing I know, I'm waking up in post-op. Or I vaguely remember being wheeled down the hall to post-op. So yeah, she was great. So then, it was in post-op. And the surgeon comes to see me. And he said, when I opened up your leg, I found the damage was much worse than what was showing on the x-ray. He said, so I had to, he says, what happened was, not only did you break your tibia plateau, your knee joint slammed together and shattered, and I had to pull out shards of bone. He said one was very large, very long. He said I had to use a lot of bone glue. He said, so I want you non-weight bearing for like longer. His instructions were more, I'd say more cautious than they were before. He told me after being in the hospital for a few days, he wanted me to go to rehab hospital. And from there, he wanted me to go to skilled nursing. He wanted me, to learn to use a wheelchair and then a walker and how to, and to strengthen my leg, etc. Get physical therapy, occupational therapy. And you know, learn how to do everyday skills, using the bathroom, taking a shower, um, cooking for myself while I don't want to say laid up because, having a wheelchair and a walker, I really don't consider myself laid up. It is taking a shower is still frightening to me. There are certain things. Well, they did not follow through. I did not get what my surgeon told me I should. Let's see. So while I was in the hospital, they were trying to get me to a rehab hospital. My insurance company fought them tooth and nail. For whatever reason, they thought I didn't need rehab. And never having broken a bone before, I don't know how to do this stuff. I've always, even being born with hip dysplasia, dislocated hip, I never had this kind of stuff. I was a baby when they fixed my hip. I was in a body cast. I don't remember this. Babies that age, I was 6 weeks old when they put me in it, so I don't remember. My mom did everything for me. But anyways, my insurance company gave them a very, very hard time. So I ended up being in that hospital 6 days because they couldn't release me anywhere. So then I went, finally they approved it. And I went, it was really strange. The hospital, they said something like, well, they don't want to approve anything. And they said, you can't stay there. And I was like, well, why would I want to stay there? I asked the nurse who was talking to me, or the case manager, whoever. I said, isn't the point of this to strengthen my leg and teach me how to function until I'm done healing so that I can get out of a hospital? And she goes, yeah, but they're talking like, and they said, this is all they'll cover and no more. I'm like, okay. At that point, I thought, well, I'm going to see what happens. And it happened that I went to Lovelace Rehab Hospital in Albuquerque. The therapist, most of the nurses, there's one I did not get along with, but the staff was very nice there. I will say that. The physical therapists were good at their job, and they were very nice. Now, what I couldn't understand is after 2 days of physical therapy, they already decided when, and I didn't even do anything except do a couple hops with the walker, after 2 sessions, they decided when I would be released from the hospital. And I thought, well, okay, well, maybe they know. But here's what happened. My second week, both my physical therapist and my occupational therapist, well, my occupational therapist said, okay, we are, this week, they have like this little kitchen where you could learn how to safely maneuver around a kitchen so you could like make yourself a meal or fix yourself something to eat, whatever, make coffee. She says, that's what we're going to do this week. And then after, when I got my stitches out, my physical therapist said, okay, we're going to start working on bending your knee. I said, okay. But that never happened. And I have this sneaky suspicion that it is not the fault of either one of my therapists. I really believe they genuinely intended to work on this stuff with me. But my case manager went from being helpful all of a sudden to cold as ice and not giving us any help at all. Now, she did talk to the case manager here in Ohio where we were trying to get me into skilled nursing. But she just was like, it was very odd because I'm in the hospital in Albuquerque. I get a call from the case manager at the facility in Ohio. And I couldn't believe what she told me. She went, "Oh my God, Michelle, you're not going to believe this." She says, "Your insurance company is saying you can walk." And I was like, "What?" I mean, right now I'm sitting in a wheelchair. And I was like, "What?" And she goes, "I know." She goes, "It's not possible with what you just had done." And it was like, what the hell? And from that point on, my case manager in Albuquerque became very cold, very, no, she wasn't really helping. Now, once my insurance company decided I could walk, I went from one day the hospital saying I cannot walk, and telling me I had very serious major surgery, to the very next day saying that I could walk. Now, the last day I was there, I had a doctor at the hospital who I had never had the entire time I was there. And my son and daughter-in-law are wheeling me down the hallway, and this doctor sees me, and he goes, "Oh, Michelle, we were just talking about you in our meeting today." Like, real happy and everything. And he was one of those very arrogant doctors you don't want to deal with. You know the type I'm talking about. Now, the doctor and the residents that I had previously were very, very nice. I said, "What?" I said, "What'd you talk about?" "We were talking about how wonderful it is. You can walk now and you're going home." And I looked at him and I said, I just put my hand up like this. I was like, "Stop." I said, "Really?" And my son was like, "I just watched my mother go into the bathroom. She was not walking." She goes, "I'm going to go." My son goes, "I'm just going to go talk to the case manager." So we did that. But she was like, "You can walk now." Let's see, what else? I can't remember. But anything whenever we stated the truth, she would stare us right in the eye and say the opposite. Like she was trying to brainwash us into something that wasn't true. And she was saying, like, my brother, he lives like way, way far away from everything. He's a nurse who works full time. I'm in Ohio. He works, I think, at a hospital in Pennsylvania. I guess I had accidentally mentioned my brother, and she said, "You can stay with your brother." I said, "No, I can't." And she looks at me dead. "You can stay with your brother." I mean, it was like she was trying to hypnotize us. And I said, "Okay, so but my brother works full time. So he wouldn't be there to help me, or if something should happen. People can check on you." Well, my sister lives over an hour away. My son and daughter-in-law are long-haul truckers. They're not going to be in town. And my mother's in a nursing home with broken hip and dementia. And I said, "Who?" "Someone can check on you." But it's exactly the way she was talking to us. I mean, it was weird, bizarre. And I said, "Okay, so my brother, who's a nurse, works long hours, full-time, way, way out in the boonies. I mean, further than I ever lived. His husband is 70, and he's not healthy, so he's taking care of his husband, too. He's now supposed to take care of his sister." And it was like, in my sister's house, I can't even, there's no way I can get into it. So it's like, if we told her our situation and it was not what she wanted to hear, she'd stare us in the eyes really intently. And "You can stay with your brother." "Really? Did you talk to my brother?" I mean, it was just bizarre. It was the weirdest thing. I wish I could remember what my daughter-in-law said, because my daughter-in-law mentioned something, and this woman stared my daughter-in-law down. And it was like she was trying to mesmerize us. It was weird. So it was like, okay, we finally get out of that hospital. The prescriptions were sent to a Walmart pharmacy. So we leave there, and it's like early afternoon. We get to this Walmart. We were going to get on the road because my son was like, I need to get the hell out of New Mexico because everything was just going wrong. Everything. And my son had had enough. He's like, I just want to get out of the state. So we go there. And my son, he goes and gets my prescriptions. And he comes back out. And he goes, Mom, these don't look like all the prescriptions they told us were supposed to be there. And he looked at the list that we got from the hospital. He's like, no. He goes back in. And the pharmacist was like, well, we had questions about the strength of the oxycodone because it's a high dosage. She goes, we called the doctor, left a message quite some time ago, still haven't heard back. So we waited. Doctor never called. My son tried to reach the doctor at the hospital. I was trying to reach the doctor at the hospital. My daughter-in-law was. All we were getting were like, recordings. It never directed you to a human being. I don't know how my son did it, but he did reach the doctor. And the doctor said, oh, okay, I'll call the pharmacist right away. So we wait about 20 minutes to half an hour. My son calls the pharmacist. And the pharmacist was like, no, the doctor never called. And it had been a few hours that the pharmacist was trying to get this taken care of. So the pharmacist, I could hear what she was saying to my son. She goes, what happened to your mother that she needs this high of a dosage? And my son said, well, she fell, fractured her tibia plateau, and shattered her knee joint. And the pharmacist goes, oh my God. She goes, I am so sorry. She says, I'm going to fill this prescription. It'll be ready in I don't know if she said 10, 20 minutes. And so we got the prescription. So anyways, we had other mishaps. We were towing my trailer, which is my home. And the axle broke, stuff like that. But that doesn't have anything to do with the topic here. So I'm not going to get into that. I want to keep it regarding all medical, pharmaceutical, because it's what I want to help people with. My trailer is irrelevant. So anyways, there is, again, no place in Ohio, nobody has a house that is wheelchair accessible, including, steps. Ohio places, the houses have, it's not like New Mexico where it's flat. People have to get up their houses in steps and stuff like that. So we actually found a wheelchair accessible hotel room. Red Roof Inn has them. I want to do a video. I'm going to do some research on what other, when you're traveling, what other hotels have that. So that video is going to be coming up, wheelchair accessible. So it is the caseworker here in Ohio in this facility who has really been helpful. She is just beside herself that this is happening to me and my family. She can't believe it. She says she has had other patients at her facility who has had problems with Humana. So she gave me instructions on how to handle it and file an appeal. So I have filed an appeal to get approved because they would not approve this facility. And I did explain, and the woman who helped me did, she almost sounded like she was being stern or mean, but she wasn't. She was, how do I put this, trying to stress to me the answers that she needed to help me. For instance, the caseworker wanted me to give her the caseworker's name. And the woman kept going, no, I need the doctor's name. I cannot have the caseworker's name. I need the doctor's name, his phone number, and his fax number. And it was every question she asked me, she was very stern. about my answer. And it almost sounded mean, but it wasn't. What she wasn't being mean. She was trying to get the right answers to help me. So, because, it's like you call these places and it's like all this stuff that's happening. Now, when I tell you, it doesn't really sound overwhelming when you're going through it. And if you're going to go through it, it's going to feel overwhelming. And when you go to answer these questions, it's like you're almost, it's overwhelming, you forget. So this woman actually helped me, like she was telling me exactly what she needed to know. So between the caseworker here and this woman at the appeals department, she was very good at telling me exactly what she needed to know. It helped me. So right now, I did get a call yesterday from the insurance company. They said they are doing, they are researching my appeal request, and they don't have an answer by Sunday. It is early Saturday morning right now. So hopefully I'll get a good answer, but this is the process I'm going through now. I have gone through. Should I forget any details, I will let you guys know anything that would be important in helping others. And we'll deal with the American corrupt medical system. Because it's like jumping through hoops. It's like, they're cracking this whip that the patient has to do all this stuff. And I guess what I'm most angry about is I never received the treatment I was promised. And at the most important part of my treatment, I was cut off. And the most important part was starting to bend my knee. Because I will get arthritis at some point and then need a knee replacement. But if the more active I am with this leg, and the surgeon last week said it is time to start have PT work on that. But when my therapist said we're going to start working on it, they tossed me out. So it never got to that point, and this is very concerning to me. Because the more active I am, the longer it will be until the arthritis sets in. So, yeah. And, another thing. I could have sworn I was told that in the rehab hospital, they would start working on helping me bend my knee and how to do it. And my surgeon said, when you get to the point where you can bend your leg enough to get behind the wheel of your truck, you could drive again. Well, I, hearing my surgeon say this, assumed that they would work on my knee. And by the time I left, I would be able to bend it enough to drive. And I remember telling the caseworker at Lovelace Rehab Hospital this, and that when I get out of the hospital, I'll be able to drive myself to outpatient physical therapy. And I remember her agreeing with me. Well, my last day there, I mentioned that to her, and she says, no, nobody leaves here driving. I was like, what? Yeah, that's not good advertisement for the hospital, but I was like, well, that doesn't make sense. Are you not helping people? I'm thinking to myself, I don't get it. And my answer would be no. So anyways, that's where I am now. I'm hoping I can title this. I have to think of a title for this video so that people who need help with this, getting through the medical process, can find it easily. And I hope I can put in the right tags so it could be found. So, yeah, I mean, this medical system and the big pharma and the weird shit and the health insurance in America needs to change. It is really bad, really bad. So, that's why I'm documenting this. We need to change it. But in the meantime, we need to share this information so that those of us who are trying to get through it have the resources and we're helping each other and supporting each other. So I'm going to leave you with that. Blessed be and make it a joyful one.